If you can say for certain how things stand in Valdemagra, or those parts, please do, for I was once a great lord in that land. Conrad Malaspina I was, the grandson and not the elder. Here I purify the love I bore for those who were my own. Oh, I replied, I never have been near the lands you held, but is there in all Europe a hamlet ignorant of the name you bear? The glories of your noble house proclaim its lords abroad, proclaim the lands that bear them, and he who does not know them knows their fame. I swear to you, so may my present course lead me on high. Your honored house has never put by its strict sword in its easy purse. Usage and nature have so formed your race that though the guilty head pervert all else, it still shuns ill to walk the path of grace. And he, go now, for the sun shall not complete its seventh rest, and that great bed the ram bestrides and covers with its forespread feet. For before this testimony you have given shall be nailed to the center of your head with stouter nails, and more securely driven than ever hearsay was. And this shall be certain as fate is in its fixed decree. Canto 9. Now pale upon the balconies of the east, ancient Tithonus's concubine appeared, but lately from her lover's arms released. Across her brow the radiance like a veil, a scroll of gems was set, worked in the shape of the cold beast, whose sting in his tail. And now already where we were, the night had taken 2 steps upward, while the third thrust down its wings in the first stroke of flight, when I by Adam's weight of flesh defeated, was overcome by sleep, and sank to rest across a grass, in which we 5 were seated, at that new hour when the first dawn light grows, and the little swallow starts her mournful cry, perhaps in memory of her former woes. And when the mind escaped from its submission to flesh and to the chains of waking thought becomes almost prophetic in its vision. In a dream I saw a soaring eagle hold the shining height of heaven, poised to strike, yet motionless on widespread wings of gold. He seemed to hover where old history records that Ganymede rose from his friends, borne off to the supreme consistory. I thought to myself, perhaps his habit is to strike at this one spot. Perhaps he scorns to take his prey from any place but this. Then from his easy wheel in heaven's spire, terrible as a lightning bolt, he struck and snatched me up high as the sphere of fire. It seemed that we were swept in a great blaze, and the imaginary fire so scorched me, my sleep broke, and I awakened in a daze. Achilles must have roused exactly thus, glancing about with unadjusted eyes, now here, now there, not knowing where he was, when Thetis stole him sleeping, still a boy, and fled with him from Chiron's care to Scyros, whence the Greeks later lured him off to Troy. I sat up with a start, and as sleep fled out of my face, I turned the deathly white of one whose blood is turned to ice by dread. There at my side my comfort sat alone. The sun stood 2 hours high and more. I sat facing the sea. The flowering glen was gone. Don't be afraid, he said. From here our course leads us to joy, you may be sure. Now therefore hold nothing back, but strive with all your force. You are now at Purgatory. See the great encircling rampart there ahead, and see that opening. It contains the golden gate. A while back in the dawn before the day, while still your soul was locked in sleep inside you, across the flowers that made the valley gay, a lady came. I am Lucia, she said. Let me take up this sleeping man and bear him that he may wake to see his hope ahead. Sordello and the others stayed. She bent and took you up. And as the light grew full, she led. I followed up the sweet ascent. Here she put you down. Then, with a sweep of her sweet eyes, she marked that open entrance. Then she was gone, and with her went your sleep. As one who finds his doubt dispelled, sheds fear and feels it change into new confidence, as bit by bit he sees the truth shine clear, so did I change. And seeing my face brim with happiness, my guide set off at once to climb the slope, and I moved after him. Reader, you know what exalted height I raised my theme. Small wonder if I now summon still greater art to what I write. As we drew near the height, we reached a place from which inside what I had first believed to be an open breach in the rock face. I saw a great gate fixed in place above 3 steps, each its own color, and a guard who did not say a word and did not move. Slow, bit by bit, raising my lids with care, I made him out, seated on the top step, his face more radiant than my eyes could bear. He held a drawn sword, and the eye of day beat such a fire back from it that each time I tried to look, I had to look away. I heard him call, "What is your business here? Answer from where you stand. Where is your guide? Take care you do not find your coming dear." A little while ago, my teacher said a heavenly lady, well versed in these matters, told us, "Go there, that is the gate ahead." And may she still assist you once inside to your soul's good. Come forward to our 3 steps, the courteous keeper of the gate replied. We came to the first step, white marble gleaming, so polished and so smooth that in its mirror I saw my true reflection past all seeming. The second was stained darker than blue black, and of a rough grained and of fire flaked stone, its length and breadth crisscrossed by many a crack. The third and topmost was of porphyry, or so it seemed, but of a red as flaming as blood that spurts out of an artery. The angel of the Lord had both feet on this final step and sat upon the sill, which seemed made of some adamantine stone. With great good will my master guided me up the 3 steps and whispered in my ear, "Now beg him humbly that he turn the key." Devoutly prostrate at his holy feet, I begged in mercy's name to be let in. But first 3 times upon my breast I beat, 7 P's, the 7 scars of sin. His sword point cut into my brow, he said, "Scrub off these wounds when you have passed within. Color of ashes of parched earth one sees deep in excavation were his vestments, and from beneath them he drew out 2 keys. One was of gold, one silver. He applied the white one to the gate first, then the yellow, and did with them what left me satisfied. Whenever either of these keys is put in properly in the lock and fails to turn it, the angel said to us, the door stays shut. One is more precious, the other is so wrought as to require the greater skill and genius. For it is that one which unties the knot. They are from Peter, and he bade me be more eager to let in than keep out whoever cast himself prostrate before me. Then opening the sacred portals wide, enter. But first be warned, do not look back, or you will find yourself once more outside. The Tarpeian rock face, and that fatal hour that robbed it of Metellus, and then the treasure, did not give off so loud and harsh a roar as did the pivots of the holy gate, which were of resonant and hard forged metal, when they turned under their enormous weight. At the first thunderous roll, I turned half round, for it seemed to me I heard a chorus singing Te Deum Laudamus mixed with that sweet sound. I stood there, and the strains that reached my ears left on my soul exactly that impression a man receives who goes to church and hears the choir and organ ringing out their chords, and now does not make out the words. Canto 10. When we had crossed the threshold of that gate so seldom used because man's perverse love so often makes the crooked path seem straight, I knew by the sound that it had closed again, and had I looked back to what water ever could I have gone to wash away that stain? We climbed the rock along a narrow crack, though, through which a zigzag pathway pitched and slid just as a wave swells full and then falls back. This calls for careful judgment, said my guide. Avoid the places where the rock swells up and weave among the troughs from side to side. Our steps became so difficult and few, the waning moon had reached its western bed and sunk to rest before we could work through that needle's eye. But when we had won clear to an open space above, at which the mountain steps back to form a ledge, we halted there. I tried, and both of us, confused for lack of any sign or guide. The ledge was level and lonelier even than a desert track. From brink to cliff face measured 3 men's height, and the cornice did not vary in its width, as far as I could see to left or right. Our feet had not yet moved a step up there when I made out that all the inner cliff, which rose without a foothold anywhere, was white and flawless marble and adorned with sculptured scenes, beside which Polyclitus and even nature's best works would be scorned. The angel who came down from God to man with the decree of peace, the centuries wept for, which opened heaven, ending the long ban, stood carved before us with such force and love, with such a living grace in his whole pose. The image seemed about to speak and move. One could have sworn an Ave sounded clear, for she who turned the key that opened to us the perfect love was also figured there, and all her flowing gesture seemed to say impressed there as distinctly as seal impresses wax. Ecce ancilla Dei. Do not give all your thought to this one part, my gentle master said. I was then standing on that side of him where man has his heart. I turned my eyes a little to the right, the side on which he stood who had thus urged me, and there at Mary's back, carved in that white and flawless wall, I saw another scene, and I crossed in front of Virgil and drew near it, the better to make out what it might mean. Emerging from the marble were portrayed the cart, the oxen, and the ark, from which the sacrilegious learned to be afraid. 7 choirs moved there before it, bringing confusion to my senses. With my hearing I thought no, with my sight yes, they are singing. In the same way the smokes the censers poured were shown so faithfully that eyes and nose disputed yes and no in happy discord, and there before the holy vessel, dancing with girt up robes, the humble psalmist moved, less than a king and more in his wild prancing, facing him portrayed with a vexed frown of mingled sadness and contempt. Michal stood at a palace window looking down. I moved a little further to the right, the better to observe another panel that shone at Michal's back, dazzling in white. Here was portrayed from glorious history that Roman prince whose passion to do justice moved Gregory to his great victory. I speak of Trajan, blessed emperor. And at his bridal was portrayed a widow in tears wept from the long grief of the poor. Filling this space on both sides and behind were mounted knights on whose great golden banners the eagles seemed to flutter in the wind. The widow knelt, and by consummate art appeared to say, My lord, avenge my son, for he is slain, and I am sick at heart. And he to answer, Justice shall be done, wait only for my return. And she, My lord, speaking from the great grief that urged her on, If you do not, and he who wears my crown will right your wrong, and she can the good deed another does grace him who shuns his own. And he then be assured, for it is clear this duty is to do before I go. Justice holds me, pity binds me here. The Maker who can never see or know anything new produced that visible speaking new to us because not found below. As I stood relishing the ardent thought of those high images, dear in themselves and dearer yet as works his hand had wrought, the poet said, "Look there, they seem to crawl, but those are people coming on our left, they can tell us where to climb the wall." My eyes always intend to look ahead to some new thing, finding delight in learning, lost little time in doing as he said. Reader, I would not have you be afraid, nor turn from your intention to repent through hearing how God wills the debt be paid. Do not think of the torments, think, I say, of what comes after them. Think that at worst they cannot last beyond the judgment day. Master, I said, those do not seem to me people approaching us, nor do I know they so confuse my sight what they may be, and he to me their painful circumstance doubles them to the very earth. My own eyes debated what they saw there at first glance. Look hard and you will see the people pressed under the moving boulders there. Already you can make out how each one beats his breast. O you proud Christians, wretched souls and small, who by the dim lights of your twisted minds believe you prosper even as you fall. Can you not see that we are worms, each one born to become the angelic butterfly that flies defenseless to the judgment throne? What have your souls to boast of and be proud? You are no more than insects, incomplete as any grub until it bursts the shroud. Sometimes at roof or ceiling beam one sees a human figure set there as a corbel, carved, with its chest crushed in by its own knees, so cramped that what one sees imagined there makes his bones ache in fact. Just such a sense grew on me as I watched those souls with care. True, those who crawled along that painful track were more or less distorted, each one bent according to the burden on his back. Yet even the most patient, racked and sore, seemed to be groaning, I can bear no more. Canto 11. Our Father in heaven, not by heaven bounded, but there indwelling for the greater love thou bearest, thy first works in the realm first founded. Hallowed be thy name, hallowed thy porter by every creature, as its nature grants it to praise thy quickening breath in its brief hour. Let come to us the sweet peace of thy reign. For it come not, we cannot ourselves attain to it, however much we strain. And as thine angels kneeling at the throne offer their wills to thee, singing Hosanna, so teach all men to offer up their own. Give us this day thy manna. Lord, we pray for it, for if he have it not, though man most strive through these harsh wastes, his speed is his delay. As we forgive our trespassers the ill we have endured, to thou forgive, not weighing our merits, but the mercy of thy will. Our strength is as a reed bent to the ground. Do not thou test us with the adversary, but deliver us from him who sets us round. This last petition, Lord, with grateful mind we pray, not for ourselves who have no need, but for the souls of those we left behind. So praying, Godspeed, for themselves and us. Those souls were crawling by under such burdens as we at times may dream of. Laden thus, unequally tormented, weary, bent, they circled the first cornice round and round, purging away the world's foul sediment. If they forever speak our good above, what can be done for their good here below by those whose will is rooted in God's love? Surely we should help those souls grow clear of time's deep stain, that each at last may issue spotless and weightless to his starry sphere. Ah, so may justice and pity soon remove the load you bear, that you may spread your wings and rise rejoicing to the perfect love. Help us to reach the stairs the shortest way, and should there be more than one passage, show us the one least difficult to climb, I pray. For my companion who is burdened still with Adam's flesh grows weak in the ascent, though to climb ever higher is all his will. I heard some words in answer to my Lord's, but could not tell which of these souls had spoken, nor from beneath which stone. These were the words: Your way is to the right along with ours. If you will come with us, you will discover a path within a living person's powers. And were I not prevented by the stone that masters my stiff neck and makes me keep my head bowed to the dust as I move on, I would look up hoping to recognize this living and still nameless man with you and pray to find compassion in his eyes. I was Italian, a Tuscan of great fame. Guglielmo Aldobrandesco was my father. I do not know if you have heard the name. My ancient lineage and the hardihood my forebears showed in war went to my head, with no thought that we all share the one blood of Mother Eve. I scorned all others, so I died for it, as all Siena knows, and every child in Campanatico. I am Umberto, and my haughty ways were not my ruin alone, but brought my house and all my followers to evil days. Here until God, he pleased to raise my head, I bear this weight. Because I did not do so among the living, I must among the dead. I had bowed low, better to know his state, when one among them, not he who was speaking, twisted around beneath his crushing weight, saw me, knew me, and cried out, and so he kept his eyes upon me. With great effort as I moved with those souls, my head bowed low. Aren't you old Drisi? I said, he who was known as the honor of Agobio, and of that art Parisians call illumination. Brother, he said, what pages truly shine are Franco Bolognese's. The real honor is all his now, and only partly mine. While I was living, I know very well I never would have granted him first place, so great was my heart's yearning to excel. Here pride is paid for. Nor would I have been among these souls had I not turned to God, while I still had in me the power to sin. O gifted men, vainglorious for first place, how short a time the laurel crown stays green, unless the age that follows lacks all grace. Once Cimabue thought to hold the field in painting, and now Giotto has the cries, so that the other's fame grown dim must yield. So from one Guido has another shorn poetic glory, and perhaps the man who will unnest both is already born. A breath of wind is all there is to fame here upon earth. It blows this way and that, and when it changes quarter, it changes name. Though loosed from flesh and old age, will you have in, say, 1,000 years more reputation than if you went from child's play to the grave? What, to eternity, is 1,000 years? Not so much as the blinking of an eye to the turning of the slowest of the spheres. All Tuscany once sounded with the fame of this one who goes hobbling on before me. Now one hears scarce a whisper of his name. Even in Siena, where he was in power, when he destroyed the rage of Florence, then as much as a shrew as she is now a whore. The fame of man is like the green of grass, it comes, it goes, and he by whom it springs bright from earth's plenty makes it fade and pass, and I to him. These truths bend my soul low from swollen pride to sweet humility. But who is he of whom you spoke just now? That's Provenzin Salvani, and the stone is on him, he replied, for his presumption in making all Siena his alone. So he goes on and has gone since his death, without a pause. Such coin must one pay here for being too presumptuous on earth. But if the souls that do not mend their sinful ways until the brink of life must wait below before they can ascend, unless the prayers of those whom God holds dear come to their aid, the period of their lives, how was he given license to be here? At the peak of his life's glory, said the ghost. In the Campo of Siena, willingly and putting by all pride, he took his post. And there to free his dear friend from the pains he suffered in the dungeons of King Charles stood firm, although he trembled in his veins. I say no more, and though you well may feel I speak in riddles, it will not be long before your neighbor's actions will reveal all you need to know to fathom what I say. It was this good work spared him his delay. Canto 12. As oxen go in yoke, step matched, head bowed, I moved along beside that laden soul as long as the sweet pedagogue allowed. But when he said leave him his weary trail, here each must speed his boat as best he can, urging it onward with both oars and sail. I drew myself again to the position required for walking, thus my body rose, but my thoughts were still bent, double in contrition. I was following my guide, and we had put those laden souls behind us far enough to make it clear that we were light on foot. When he said, without turning back his head, look down. You will find solace on the way in studying what pavement your feet tread. In order that some memory survive of those who die, their slabs are often carved to show us how they looked while yet alive. And often at the sight a thought will stir the passer-by to weep for what has been, though only the compassionate feel that spur, just so, but with a far more lifelike grace, they being divinely wrought, stone figures covered the track that jutted from the mountain's face, marked there on one side him who had been given a nobler form than any other creature. He plunged like lightning from the peak of heaven, mark on the other, lying on the earth, stricken by the celestial thunderbolt. Briareus, heavy with the chill of death, marked there still armed, ranged at their father's side, Thymbraeus, Mars, and Pallas, looking down at the giant's severed limbs strewn far and wide. Mark Nimrod at the foot of his great tower, bemused, confounded, staring at his people, who shared at Shinar his mad dream of power. Ah, Naya, with what eyes wrung with pain I saw your likeness sculpted on that road between your 7 and 7 children slain. Ah, soul, how still you seem to me, run through with your own sword, dead upon Mount Gilboa, which never after that felt rain or dew. Ah, Matarachne, so I saw you there already have turned spider on the shreds of what you wove to be your own despair. Ah, Rehoboam, your image in that place no longer menaces. A chariot bears it in panic flight, though no one gives it chase. Now I see Alcmaeon there on the hard pavement, standing above her mother when she learned the full cost of the fatal ornament. Now see there how his own sons fell upon Sennacherib at prayer within the temple, and how they left him dead when they were done. Now see Tomiris, bloody with her kill, after the ruin she wrote, saying to Cyrus, your thirst was all for blood, now drink your fill. Now see how the Assyrians broke and ran from Israel after Holofernes' murder, and showed the slaughtered remnants of the man, marked Troy, there in its ashes overthrown. Ah, Ilion, how lowly and how lost, now see your hollow shell upon that stone. What brush could paint or etching stylus draw such lineaments and shadings? At such skill the subtlest genius would have stared in awe. The dead seemed dead, the living alive. A witness to the event itself saw no better than I did, looking down there at its likeness. Now swell with pride and cut your reckless swath, with head held high, you sons of Eve, and never bow down to see the evil in your path. We had I found gone round more of the mount, And the sun had run more of its daily course than my bound soul had taken into account. Than when Virgil, ever watchful, ever leading, commanded, "Lift your head. This is no time to be shut up in your own thoughts unheeding. Look there and see an angel on his way to welcome us, and see the sixth handmaiden returns now from her service to the day, that he may gladly send us up the mountain. Let reverence grace your gestures and your look. Remember, this day will not dawn again. I was well used to his warnings, to abjure all that delayed me from my good on that point. Nothing he said to me could be obscure. Toward us, dressed in white, and with a face serenely tremulous as the morning star, the glorious being came, radiant with grace. First his arms and then his wings spread wide. Come, he said, the stars are near, and now the way is easy up the mountainside. Few, all too few, come answering to this call. O sons of man, born to ascent on high, how can so slight a wind puff make you fall? Straight to where the rock was cut he led. There he struck my forehead with his wings, then promised us safe journeying ahead. When a man has climbed the first slope toward the crown on which is built the church that overhangs at the Rubicon, the well-managed town, the abrupt ascent is softened on his right by steps cut in the rock in other days, before the staff and ledger had grown light. Just so the bank here, plunging like a slide from the round above, has been made easier. Though towering cliffs squeeze us from either side, we set out on the climb, and on the way, Beati Papere Spiritu rang out, more sweetly sung than any words could say. Ah, what a difference between these trails and those of hell! Here every entrance fills with joyous song, and there with savage wails. We were going up the holy steps, and though the climb was steep, I seemed to feel much lighter than I had felt on level ground below. Master, I said, tell me what heaviness has been removed from me that I climb, yet seem to feel almost no weariness. He answered, when the peace that still remain, though fading on your brow, are wiped away as the first was, without a trace of stain. Then will your feet be filled with good desire. Not only will they feel no more fatigue, but all their joy will be mounting higher. All their joy will be in mounting higher. A man with some strange thing lodged on his hat will stroll, not knowing till the stares of others set him to wonder what they're staring at. Whereat his hand seeks out and verifies what he suspected, thus performing for him the office he could not serve with his eyes. Just so I put my right hand to my brow, fingers outspread, and found 6 letters only, of those that had been carved there down below by the angel with the keys to every grace, at which a smile shone on my master's face. Canto 13. We climbed the stairs and stood now on the track where for a second time the mount that heals all who ascended had been terraced back. The terrace circles the entire ascent in much the same way as the one below, save that the arc it cuts is sooner bent. There were no spirits and no carvings there. Bare was the cliff face, bare the level path. The rock of both was livid, dark, and bare. Were we to wait till someone came this way who might direct us, Virgil said to me, I fear that would involve a long delay. Then he looked up and stared straight at the sun, and then, using his right side as a pivot, he swung his left around. Then he moved on. O blessed lamp! We faced the road ahead, placing our faith in you. Lead us the way that we should go in this new place, he said. You are the warmth of the world. You are its light. If other calls do not urge otherwise, your rays alone should serve to lead us right. We moved on with a will, and in a while we had already gone so far up there as would be reckoned here on earth a mile, when we began to hear in the air above invisible spirits who flew toward us speaking sweet invitations to the feast of love. The first voice that flew past rang to the sky, Venum non habent, and from far behind us we heard it fade, repeating the same cry. Even before we heard it cry its last far round the slope, another voice rang out, I am Orestes, and it too sped past. Sweet father, I began, what are these cries? And even as I asked, I heard a third bodiless voice say, love your enemies. And my good master, then, this circle purges the guilt of envious spirits. And for these who failed in love, love is the lash that scourges. The rain must cry the opposite of love. You will hear it, I expect, before you reach the pass of absolution that leads above. Now look carefully across the air ahead of us, and you will see some people seated against the inner cliff up there. I opened my eyes wider. Further on, I saw a group of spirits dressed in cloaks exactly the same color as the stone. As we drew near, I heard prayers and plaints. Oh, Mary, pray for us, I heard them cry, and to Michael and to Peter and all saints. I cannot think there walks the earth today a man so hard that he would not be moved by what I saw next on that ashen way. For when I drew near and could see the whole penance imposed upon the praying people, my eyes milked a great anguish from my soul. Their cloaks were made of haircloth, coarse and stiff. Each soul supported another with his shoulder, and all leaned for support against the cliff. The impoverished blind who sit all in a row during indulgences to beg their bread lean with their heads together exactly so, the better to win the pity they beseech, not only with their cries, but with their look of fainting grief, which pleads as loud as speech. Just as the sun does not reach to their sight, so too those shades of which I spoke just now, God's rays refuse to offer their delight. For each soul has its eyelids pierced and sewn with iron wires, as men sew new caught falcons, sealing their eyes to make them settle down. Somehow it seemed to me a shameful act to stare at others and remain unseen. I turned to Virgil. He, with perfect tact, knew what the mute was laboring to say and did not wait my question. Speak, he said, but count your words and see they do not stray. Virgil was walking by me down the ledge, on the side from which, because no parapet circled the cliff, one might plunge off the edge. On the other side, those spirits kept their places, absorbed in prayer, while through the ghastly stitches tears forced their way and flowed down from their faces. I turned to them and said, O souls afire with hope of seeing heaven's light, and thus already certain of your heart's desire, so may high grace soon wash away the scum that clogs your consciousness, that memory's stream may flow without a stain in joys to come. Tell me if there is any Latin soul among you here. I dearly wish to know, and telling me may help him to his goal. We are all citizens of one sublime and final city, brother. You mean to ask who lived in Italy in his pilgrim time? These are the words I heard a spirit say from somewhere further down. I moved up. Therefore, in order to direct my voice that way, I saw one shade who seemed to have in mind what I had said. How could I tell? She sat chin raised, the waiting gestures of the blind. O soul, self humbled, for the climb to grace, I said. If it was you who spoke, I beg you, make yourself known, either by name or place. I was Sienese, she answered. On this shelf I weep away my world guilt, with these others and prayers to him that he vouchsafe himself. Sapia was I, though sapient I was not. I found more joy in the bad luck of others than in the good that fell to my own lot. If this confession rings false to your ears, hear my tale out. Then see if I was mad in the descending arc of my own years. The blood of my own land was being spilled in battle outside Cole's walls, and I prayed God to do what he already willed. So were they turned, their forces overthrown, to the bitter paths of flight, and as I watched, I felt such joy as I had never known. Such that I raised my face, flushed with false power, and screamed to God, Now I no longer fear you like a blackbird. When the sun comes out in an hour, not till my final hour had all but set did I turn back to God, longing for peace. Penance would not yet have reduced my debt, had not Pierre Petaneo, insanely love, grieved for my soul, and offered holy prayers that interceded for me there above. But who are you that come here to seek such news of us, and have your eyes unsown as I believe, and breathe yet when you speak? My eyes, I said, will yet be taken from me upon this ledge, but not for very long. Little they sinned. Through being turned in envy, my soul is gripped by a far greater fear of the torment here below. For even now, I seem to feel the burden those souls bear, And she, then who has led you to this round, if you think to go below again? And I, he who is with me, and who makes no sound. And I still live, if you would have me move my mortal feet down there in your behalf. Ask what you will, O soul blessed by God's love. Oh, she replied, this is a thing so rare, it surely means that God has loved you greatly from time to time. Then help me with a prayer. I beg, by all you most desire to win, that if you walk again on Tuscan soil, you will restore my name among my kin. You will find them in that foolish mob whose dream is Talamon now, and who will lose there more than they did once in their silly scheme to find the lost Diana, though on that coast it is the admirals who will lose the most.